into this house. Open the door to new people, new ideas.
I'm so sorry.
Get out of my house! Get out!
You give and you give and you give. It's just never enough.
Good afternoon, everybody. Our top buttons are buttoned, and we're going to be talking about Darren Aronofsky's Mother. My name is Spencer Henderson, and I am a Cinemaholic.
My name is Bela, and I'm a Cinemaholic.
My name is Hipster Ryan, and I'm a Cinemaholic. And today, like he said, we are talking about Mother. This is Darren Aronofsky's new film. We buttoned our buttons all the way up to the top to talk about this because it's divisive, to say the least. And we are going to structure this kind of non-spoilers for a few minutes, and then we're going to go spoiler heavy. I don't even know how to start with this film. Let's say it's starring Javier Bardem and Jennifer Lawrence. Ed Harris is in it. Michelle Pfeiffer is in it. I was going to say some more people, but honestly, I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to say on IMDb, it says a couple's relationship is tested when uninvited guests arrive at their home, disrupting their tranquil existence. That's all I'm going to say about this film. Let's kind of briefly go over what we thought. This is one that, like, spoilers, you need to see it without spoilers. Unless you're not looking forward to this at all, and then I guess you could go into it with the spoilers and not experience it. And it'll kind of prepare you. I don't know. Spencer, what'd you think?
I don't know what I thought of this movie. I've spent the entirety of the night. I didn't get much sleep last night, or good sleep last night. And the entirety of this morning, I almost went and saw this movie again before this review. But then I just decided I don't know what more I'm going to get out of this experience. What I do want to say is after I watched this movie last night, I came home and the whole entire drive, I didn't listen to music. I didn't do anything. I was just like driving in silence, thinking about what the hell I had just watched. And then I watched the trailers. And wow, the marketing of this movie is terrible. This is one of the worst marketed movies I have ever seen. And the thing that's good about it is it doesn't really give away what the movie's about. But the thing that's horrible about it is that it is incredibly misleading. And I mean misleading in a way that it is baffling to me. Baffling that they decided to market it in this way, because the weekend drop off from this one to the next is going to be colossally low.
70 or 80% drop.
Right. After this movie ended, there were murmurs all over the crowd of people saying they hated this movie. Now, I sat there thinking, I don't know what I thought about that. I think that it is an interesting movie, and I'm very glad I saw it. I think it's going to promote discussion, but without spoilers, I'm not going to be able to say anything more about this movie. I don't know what I thought.
Yeah, I really liked this movie. We watched it. Yeah, we watched it in the morning, so I was kind of sleepy when I watched it, and it took me a while to understand all the references or, all the metaphors that they had in this movie. And I thought it was something, but then I realized it wasn't that really. So I was kind of confused, and I definitely have to watch it again because, I'll need to reevaluate what I watched. It was really, it was good. Like the filmmaking was, I don't know, I liked the cinematography. It was really nice. The performances were really awesome too. They were really, really good. But I understand the story was like right on your face after thinking. And I spent the whole day thinking about this movie, and I couldn't even work. I was just thinking and, asking myself a bunch of questions. But overall, I liked it.
All I'm gonna say in this section is the 2 points that you both brought up that's why I love it, because you thought about it the whole night, and she thought about it the whole day, and you both said that you're gonna go see it again.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, for me, that's why it worked so well. Is regardless of personal affiliations and thoughts and beliefs, this movie is promoting discussion, whether it's good discussion or bad discussion, people are talking about it. Whether there are parts that it hammers you over the face, but at the same time, it does require thought, and there are connections that you can bring out of it. And that really worked for me. That being said, I understand why people do not like it, but I will forever go down fighting, saying that it is a masterpiece film-wise. Subject-wise, it's kind of concerning, and people can talk and have their opinions. But the things that Darren is able to do in this movie are objectively impressive, is what I had said. And I do believe that, and I'll go down fighting. So I think that'll end kind of our non-spoiler. Spence, you said you didn't want to score this one, or do you want to?
I don't know what I would score this movie. I honestly don't even know how I would approach scoring this movie, because the thing about it is that I can't recommend this to somebody. I cannot recommend this movie. There's hardly a person who I would say, hey, you know what you should see? Mother! ! Because it's such a jacked up movie. Like the beginning of it, for the first like hour, I was like, oh, this is it, like really interesting, intriguing movie. And then the last like 30 minutes came, and I was like, it's insanity. It's flat out insanity. And it's particularly the last 10 minutes I did not like at all. And I think that there was people who walked out of the theater like pissed off. And like I've heard all sorts of things about what people thought about this movie because I read into it, and I just don't know how I could recommend this to somebody. So I can't score this right now.
Kat, do you want to score it?
I want to talk about the marketing too a little bit.
Okay.
Because I don't know if we're going to spoilers.
Well, let's score. If you want to score it. I'll score it, and then we'll go into spoilers.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so I'll score it 7.5, even though I liked it. But I'll need to rewatch it, and I might change my, like what I think of it. But by now, 7.5.
Okay, I'm going 9. I'm going a 9 out of 10. I do have a lot of issues that I'd like to talk about. So that's our transition. From now on, we're going spoilers. Everyone proceed with caution. And I think exactly what Spencer just said, he can't really recommend it to someone. I feel like if you're wary about it and you listen to our spoiler discussion and you feel like that's something that you're okay with watching, then I definitely suggest doing that. And that's why it's kind of like, I don't suggest going and looking at the trailers because they don't do much for you. But if you are okay with it not being this big reveal or anything like that, and you're okay with listening to a discussion about it and then making your decision, by all means, we'll transfer into spoilers and let's go. Does anyone, you wanted to talk about trailers? Yeah.
So I understand a lot of people are thinking that this is a horror movie, which is not. And everyone's thinking it was just like Rosemary's Baby, which I thought it was too.
And that's my question to start it is, me and Spence hadn't seen anything really on this. I had seen the first trailer, but you watched almost everything.
Yeah.
So what do you think you had a better experience than us, or since we hadn't seen anything, we had a better experience?
I don't think so. I don't think the trailers actually changed anything. Like it changed your view. Maybe a lot of people are going to be disappointed, which I wasn't disappointed, but I felt like, well, I'm watching those trailers and I think it's going to be something different than what it was. And then there was one trailer that they had a scene where she was pregnant, so it was just her belly. She was pregnant. I was like, okay, maybe this is going to be like Rosemary's Baby because there's a freaking, like, someone's pregnant, you know? So, but then I realized it wasn't. It was
which I think was a giant
different.
I think it was even like a J.J. Abrams kind of a dick move where Darren made that poster of Rosemary's Baby as a specific misdirection.
Dude, the trailer for it makes it look like it's a new Rosemary's Baby. Like there's the guests coming into the house, she's pregnant, and you're thinking like, what are these people's intentions? They made it look like it was, and that poster even just furthers that. Yeah. It really, and the movie even, the first hour and a half of the movie has a pretty Rosemary's Baby feel to it.
Yeah. And something I was gonna say something too that it's just I don't say like false advertisement, but I'm sure they did this because they wanted to sell because they spent a bunch of money with that movie, so they needed people to watch it. So people are gonna watch it and then they're gonna realize that it's not what they wanted to see, and then not a lot of people will watch it after this weekend.
And I'm very split on this because I can see coming at this from a marketing standpoint and being like, oh, it's a kind of like M. Night Shyamalan, like we cannot promote this in any way that will give away what we're saying here. But at the same time, you know, I would hate to be in the marketing department's job for this because I don't know how I would have marketed it any different besides putting out disclaimers.
You can't market it any different is the thing. Their hands were tied because if they were to show people what this movie was, then people wouldn't have had the interest to see it. I don't think they had to market in the way that they did. And let me touch on this real quick is the fact that this movie exists and that a major studio funded this it's miraculous. It is crazy that this movie exists in like this day and age of filmmaking. And I'm honestly kind of applaud Paramount for taking this project and funding it and giving it a wide release for people to see.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And like I said, we're going spoilers. And so one thing that I specifically wanted to bring up was we went to Telluride, and I think we had seen, you'll have to correct me on this, I think we had seen like 3 movies in a row or something about global warming. Or I had made a specific comment saying that I was getting global warming and this kind of topic, I was getting fatigued. And I was just like, I don't think I'm really enjoying this movie as much as I could just because I've seen 3 movies recently about that. That didn't happen to me in this. And I think maybe that's why I liked it and maybe I was just kind of oblivious and not trying to connect dots and until the end, and everything just kind of fit. And I was like, that worked for me. And so maybe it's that, maybe it's not. Did you have an issue with it being about global warming, or was it just how he approached that? What was your biggest turnoff?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm turned off towards this. I think it's a very effective way to talk about climate change the way they did. And so, first of all, yeah, full on spoilers, guys. Essentially, what Darren Aronofsky is going for, and I mean, we can't particularly comment on that, but I think it's pretty obvious. Javier Bardem is God, and Jennifer Lawrence is Mother Earth. And she is like one with the house, and it is the house that they built is Earth, right? And these people come into their house, and there's this crystal upstairs that's kind of like the forbidden fruit that they go into this room they're not supposed to go into. They break the forbidden fruit, and then their sons come along. The older son kills the younger son. And at that point, I was like, okay, so they're retelling like the book of Genesis from the Bible. And then it kind of gets to the point where things like smoking in the house and all that affects Jennifer Lawrence as well as her house. And that's when I started to realize that that was kind of like the Mother Earth thing they're going through. The last like 10 minutes of this movie is where it really gets into like the ugliness of the way that people are treating the earth. And I found that to be extremely effective. But the thing that bothered me about this movie is I can see it, not to me so much, but I can see it being very offensive to people how visceral the last 10 minutes of this movie are.
Yeah, it was totally insanity, like you said. Yeah, and it took me a while to understand exactly what it was, but because since the beginning, I thought he was the devil for some reason, and I think that's, like you said,
it's
that's
like
what
the Rosemary's Baby misguiding. They wanted you to think that.
Exactly, yeah, and then only towards the end, I was still thinking the same way, but I could see, like, global warming thing, I see all those references and what he was trying to say, but yeah, essentially, I was kind of oblivious about everything. So, that's why I need to rewatch it, because I need to, fully understand what he was trying to say. But now, after like thinking about it, it all makes sense. So yeah.
The last, I think the thing everyone will agree on is the first hour and a half of this movie is just kind of a, you know, it's a casual retelling that isn't anything insane. Where everything changes is the last 30 to 20 to 10 minutes. It gradually just spirals into chaos and insanity, like everyone's been saying. For me, that worked because I didn't personally get offended. I found it disgusting and grotesque and absurd, and I never wanted to see that again because of what it is, but I didn't get offended by it. And for me, looking at it and seeing that he was able to do that, seeing how well he was able to portray the insanity and how well everything interlapped within this house and how the metaphors kind of still worked for how he was able to pull this off, I was able to like that more than I was grossed out. And so for me, it really did work. And I looked at the filmmaking more than what did I just watch? But I've been watching reactions and I've seen people have been saying people threw stuff at the screen. People left completely angry. Yesterday, I saw a guy leave the theater. He had made it, but the last 5 minutes he didn't watch, but he came storming out of the theater wanting a refund. And he said that he deserved a refund because we shouldn't show stuff like this in the theater without disclaimers and stuff. And so like, I totally get it that it's offensive. I looked past that though. And
yeah, I don't know. I think I always get kind of upset about that type of a person. It's like, you should know what type of stuff is in the movie you're going to see. And the saying that a theater shouldn't have the right to show something that a filmmaker like Darren Aronofsky, who, you know, approaches film as an art form, that's baffling to me. I don't think people have any business watching these types of movies if they're going to get offended in that way by it. I mean, I wasn't offended by this movie, but I can see how somebody, if maybe they didn't do research on it, would be. But still, the movie has a right to exist. It's fine. And the message that he is trying to say is a compelling one. It's just at the end, the last 10 minutes, it felt kind of, I mean, not to this extreme. I liked it better than this movie, but felt kind of Neon Demon-esque to me, where the movie thinks that, and Darren Aronofsky thinks that what he's saying is more profound than it might actually be. I think that showing that scene with the baby was a little bit far, maybe to the extent of what they were trying to say. And man, this is a pessimistic movie about humanity and the state of humanity in a way that's very primal and grotesque, as Ryan said, but effective. Like, overall, it is an effective movie and it's a well-made movie. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Sorry. Yeah, it's pessimist because he's like just saying to everyone like, oh, there's like, we can't go back and fix it. That's how it is, and we have to live with it. You know. And yeah, the baby scene was really grotesque. I like, it's not a horror movie, but it's horrifying.
right. So let's talk about downsizing for a second, just because that's on my mind.
Haven't seen it.
I think downsizing does the same exact thing. The difference is downsizing is able to show both sides of the equation. And I don't want to go too much into spoilers on that movie, but it's like, it's able to show the pessimistic side as well as the, sorry, my phone's going off, as well as the optimistic side. And it kind of leaves it up for the viewer to choose what they believe. Whereas this doesn't even kind of attempt the optimistic at all. It just says, this is where we are. This is where we're going. And
this is what we're doing as well.
We've done this. And that's one thing that I really did like with the symbolism. She kept trying to put the blanket over the rug over the hole and kept trying to fix it and hide it and cover it up. And it never worked. And I that works for me. Yeah. But it is deeply pessimistic. I don't know, guys.
Yeah, and you know, I read a little bit about Aronofsky's approach to this movie, and apparently he was really upset with what he was seeing in the news and the state of this world. And he wrote this draft for this movie in 5 days, like 5 days. And he said he was at a really dark spot. And so this kind of feels like a really effed up version of therapy of getting this out of his system. And I mean, all of us have had the idea of, or at least I have, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I've had the idea that, man, like we are screwing up the earth. Are we at a point where we're irreversible with it? But this movie, that sequence at the end where they're just beating her and tearing her clothes, and the way it's shot, like the movie primarily uses close-ups on Jennifer Lawrence. I would wager half of the movie, at least half of the movie, are close-ups on Jennifer Lawrence. And the ending where the rioting is going on, the wars are breaking out in the house, there's executions, there's like a scene that is an allusion to the Good Samaritan in this movie. And all of those come at you so fast and so viscerally that those close-ups become really effective. At the beginning, I was really put off by the close-ups, but by the end of the movie, I see why they did it. And I thought that scene in particular, where that she's just getting beaten and we're like right up against her face, damn, that was a brutal, brutal scene that I will not be able to get out of my mind for a while.
For me, the telling of the story within a story really worked. We've talked about Black Swan before and how it's able to tell the story of Nina that is integrately a part of the Black Swan, the Swan Princess story at the same time, that they are the same story. That really worked for me as well in this movie. That's so impressive that even if this was messed up therapy, and in 5 days he wrote this draft, that he was able to tell a story about a story that is a story about our time, is just so intriguing to me. Of seeing these people through their life, which is metaphorically a run through the Bible, which is so key right now with all of these hurricanes, with Irma and all the destruction that we're going right now. That's what people are always saying, is this is Revelations. We're living in the time of Revelations where it's the end of the world. And everything he shows in the last 10 minutes is the book of Revelations, of wars and rumors of wars and destruction and hurricanes and earthquakes. And eventually the world will be destroyed in flames. And that's exactly what he was able to do in this way that I was like, whoa, you connected that really well, to a point where I was just so into the story. When it finally connected, I had that aha moment, and I was like, whoa, good job. Like, impressive, pessimistic, gritty, but impressive. Like, I don't know. And maybe I do sound really hipster saying that, but
no, you don't. I mean, I agree with every single point you just made. And if you guys want to see a movie where you're like, you want to know a messed up book, the Bible, then watch this movie.
I agree. I think that, I don't know, we could talk about this for hours and still not make any progress on deciding what we thought or convincing anyone we thought. And that's, again, why it works so well for me, is that anything that inspires this kind of discussion is worth being seen, in my opinion. And like you said, that Paramount was able to release this, good on them. Like, I don't know if they thought maybe they could get their money back. I don't even know how much the budget was on this movie, but the word of mouth of audiences who are not prepared, I think, is going to turn a lot of people off. Like you said, it's going to have a huge drop off by next weekend. If it was above a $20 million budget, I don't think they stand a chance at making their money back,
which is kind of a shame. I would pay like $50 to watch this movie in a theater full of people who don't know what it is, who are just mainstream audiences. Like, I would pay hard-earned cash to do that, because that would be the funniest experience of all time.
So we saw it, and it was just us in the theater, and then later that night there was a group of 20 people and then a group of 9 people. And so, I mean, like, at least personal experience, what I'm seeing, not a lot of people are coming out to this. And so I think that's why I personally haven't seen mainstream audiences freak out, but I as well, I I convinced Matt Clark to go see this, and I can't wait to like see his reaction on and how he walks out of the theater when he sees this movie.
Nudity.
Oh.
Speaking of Matt Clark, follow him on Stardust at MSC2010.
To tune into that reaction, huh?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Do you guys have anything else you want to say?
Well, I have one thing. You're probably going to lose a friend like, suggesting to go see this movie. Wow.
Oh man. And I think I did text you about this. And I do think that this is a movie. It's so hard to, like you said, to recommend this, but I really do think that this is a movie that could be dissected. We talked about First Reformed, and we've talked about other movies like that. A Ghost Story. I would love to just sit down, and I feel like people can learn so much about film by dissecting this and writing essays about it and really analyzing this. Whether I can with the ending be like, hey, yeah, watch this 6 times and write a paper about it. I don't think I could tell someone to do that. And I don't know if I could do that. I can watch the ending a few more times because I'm prepared for it now, but I don't think I can recommend this, though I do still give it a 9 out of 10. So take that for what it is.
So just one more question. How does this movie rank up to other Aronofsky movies for you guys? Like, where does it sit in his filmography?
That's so hard because yesterday, with it on my mind so much, I was like, yeah, dude. And I think technically it's pretty far up there, filmmaking wise. I think I would personally say it's in the top 5, possibly top 3. I would probably say Black Swan, Warrior, and then this and Requiem are probably tied for
I mean, The Wrestler?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that what I said?
Warrior.
Oh, I say that every single time. The Wrestler, sorry.
I was like, what one is
Yeah,
that?
for me, it would be top 5 too. Yeah, and I think Requiem for a Dream, it's better. And I like The Fountain. My least favorite is The Fountain. I'm sorry.
No,
I like
I
Mother
think you thought
better
the same
than
thing,
The
right?
Fountain.
Yeah, I think Noah's my least favorite.
Yeah, I haven't seen Noah, so it would
But-
be on the bottom.
Yeah, this one, oh man.
You said that Fountain was super pretentious. Do you think this falls in the same category as The Fountain?
I like this better than The Fountain personally. I think this is a better made movie. I think it's more effective. And overall, I think I like this movie. It's just such a it's unlike any movie I've ever seen. Like walking out of it, it's this really strange experience that's very, very hard to describe. Just because it's really unlike anything else you've ever seen. And I mean, it's everything I'm saying probably just intrigues people to want to see it. But you brought up First Reformed and A Ghost Story. I don't think it's near as good as either of one of those films for me personally.
I think I would describe, if I had to describe this to someone, I would describe it as Black Swan. You're going through this experience of Black Swan, and remember that. And every time it gets weird in Black Swan, that's what this movie is. Just instead of what why Black Swan is his best movie is because it's a normal narrative story with normal people in the real world that has hints of the weirdness and hints of the insanity. And it's got a perfect balance. This just took the insanity and just threw it in a film and made it 2 hours long. And I think that's why it doesn't work as well. But it's like you said, it's a unique experience that I've never had before, and take that for what it is.
Exactly.